Greetings folks, are you someone that believes that violence is not a problem but a solution? What about weapons? Who needs them? I am the weapon! Unarmed in Tainted Grail is quite challenging, fun, but completely viable. In this build I will go through what you need to become a certified Shaolin monk, capable of tearing through most of the game, if the game is not tearing through you. However, you will need to master the dash button, so you are being warned. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and subscribe for more gaming content. Blah, I feel dirty saying this every time, but here we are. Okay, let's look at our stats. 15 points of strength, 15 points of endurance, 8 points in dexterity. Dexterity is necessary because otherwise we cannot use our gear. 6 points in practicality, not more. This is to use our gloves. Perception is gonna be our main stats after we satisfy other gear requirements. I tried 3 different versions of this build. You need to have 100% crit. The sooner you get it, the better. It's gonna be a huge DPS increase on your build. Also, we attack very fast. Okay, let's go through our perks, but first I will explain how Unarmed work and scales. Unarmed is special, it's considered its own type of weapon type, so on Unarmed you will not benefit from one-handed or two-handed, so we do not invest in this. For priority, of course the Unarmed tree is especially important, however if you start to level up using a weapon, then you will begin with Godly Physique. Fist of Fury, mandatory. Brawler is super important because this is how we build up our damage, especially in boss fights. We hit very fast, so we increase this bonus exponentially. And of course, maxing Iron Hands is a no-brainer. Blows of the Snake is not really that worth it in my opinion. It's useful when you clean up trash, we don't benefit that much in it. In general, Godly Physique and Executioner, the moment that the enemy is gonna block, is dead. Because with Executioner we will destroy him. In Endurance, this build will use a shield. The shield, however, it's gonna be only a stat stick. Why are we doing this? Well, first of all, 20% extra damage is not too shabby. And then we are getting 15% damage reduction. Can you play without shield? Sure, but you will lose some stats. So it will be up to you where to put these points. Because it's still, however, a 7-point investment. In Dexterity, attack speed, Onslaught. If you do not want to put this many points in Quickened Strikes, sure. However, gets 2 points in Onslaught, which is gonna be very useful in boss fights. Nothing in Spirituality. In Perception, of course, we need to increase our critical chance, and Go for the Eyes needs to be maxed as well. And then 2 points in Critical Aegis because it's still gonna increase our survivability, especially in Veteran. Okay. In Practicality, this is one of the most important trees for you. You want Born in Armor as soon as possible. It will affect our damage through our gloves, which I will explain later in the gear section. Inner Strength, of course, take this early. If you don't want to cap immediately Born in Armor, that's fine as well, because when your gloves are not gonna be fully upgraded, Born in Armor is not gonna be as effective. Toughened in Pain. You can get this very later on. Armored Skin, get this one later on. Uncanny Agility and Acrobatic Dodge are more worth it if your overall load, meaning that the weight of your gear is lower. Please get Best Offense, because we are stacking a lot of armor in this build. So that is always a good idea. Also, since we apply Bleed on this build quite constantly, Exploitation of Affliction, you should take this one. And you can take this one early. It will work on most stuff except Undead. Potent Poison, you don't have to take this one, okay? I will repeat, you don't have to take Potent Poisons, okay? You can take this one if you want, however, you don't need to. Stacking Peril, we do not have way to apply 2 dots on this setup. You will need to change your helm for this, and I really don't want to give up Rose helm. Okay, let's look at our gear. As I said earlier, we use shield as a stat stick. It doesn't matter which shield you use, we will not block. You need to dash on this build, okay? For helm, Crone's Mask is absolutely the best helm you can use. There are other options as helms. You could use Dual Knight if you want to dip into status effect application, but I found this less effective. You can use Lancelot. I used the Lancelot for a while. If you are in Act 1 and you craft, you can make yourself a Revenant set. You can always use the Duelist set in Act 1. The core of this build is built around heavy gauntlets. You get these in Act 1. If you don't know where to get them, you can check the leveling section later. The gloves are how we scale damage. Doesn't matter what you upgrade here. Even stats, it doesn't matter. You can get your stats up easily. But the gloves are your priority. Every upgrade needs to be put in the gloves. For chest, you can use Winged Cavalier. It's a crafted set. If you do not want to use Winged Cavalier, Lancelot is still 30% damage increase. It's super light and it's free. For pants, I went Crow because 30% critical chance is a lot. For back, I went Winged Cavalier because this build is kinda starved for critical chance. If you don't want to use Winged Cavalier for Act 1 and 2, you will use Dual Knight Cape most likely. Okay, for Amulet, I went Great Beastbone. It's one of the rewards for one of the quests in Act 1 in the Barbarian camp to increase our maximum health because we will take damage. If you don't want to use it, you could go crit with the Stone Warden Talisman. This is one of the rewards for doing the Blacksmith Guild. Lucky Amulet, I think you get this in Act 3. At the start, you could use Comb's Finger from one of the bounty. So for Ring, we want to have the Blood Ring because this is how we apply bleed. Most enemies are vulnerable to bleed except undead, so this works on most bosses. You should use this just to apply the dot so you have that bonus damage increase from our perks. Outer rings, I use Arthur because health and stamina is always good. You could use Old Steel Ring, but it's weaker. At some point I was using both of them before I had the perk point into Blood Ring. Of course, if you didn't take yet the status increase damage, or you're fighting something that is immune to bleed, switch ring if you want. However, you should not need to. For boots, Sir Lancelot because I already meet the stat requirement. The alternatives would be Dual Knight, however, it's a DPS loss. However, the decreased dash cost is still good in certain situations, but it's a lot of points in endurance that I cannot spare at the moment. If you want, you could also use Crow. In that case, you will need to rearrange your stats and lower your perception, however. Plus, don't forget that we are still trading away some physical damage. Also, there are some crafted sets that can be used instead of Lancelot. Whatever you do, it's up to you. Best start and leveling. Depending on the difficulty you're playing, your experience as melee and unarmed in general is gonna change a lot. A two-handed melee build has easy access to powerful stuns and stamina drain. On unarmed we can stagger, but that's it. Misplays and overcommitting in veteran will get you killed during leveling. Even one of the bounties in veteran with the best setup possible can still shred you if you don't dodge the axe attack. So, it is the absolute truth about starting as an armed in veteran. This is gonna be one of the most painful things you can do in this game. If you accept the challenge, that is amazing. If you however wanna go to a less painful experience, start leveling with a weapon or magic. No need to respect really if you go magic because blood transfusion and bleed ring combo is far too strong in Act 1 already. And if you play melee, there are literally perks that are not unarmed that are still good for you in this build that you can take first. The reason I'm saying this is simple math. You need 12 points investment to use the heavy gloves, 6 in strength and 6 in practicality. Practicality is amazing to make money and crafting. It's kinda worthless in combat in this build. So this means that you will have issues using armors that are actually useful when you put these gloves on if you just stack practicality and strength. If you are a walking god gamer and you can dodge everything, then you don't have to worry about this. Otherwise, get a knight set or craft yourself a revenant, or even kill the duelist outside of the keep with blood transfusion. Just don't get hit or he will one-shot you. And when you can equip the gloves and the armor, then you're ready to start. Just remember, in terms of raw damage, you are weaker early on compared to other build. This is why you want to upgrade those gloves and get them as high as possible. The higher the better. The damage added by the heavy gloves takes place before any other factor in the overall damage. But more importantly, the extra armor given by the upgrade doesn't sound like a lot. It will increase your survival. Also, due to the perk that we get, it's extra melee damage. On top of that, you can easily find the heavy gloves here in the northern part of the map. Just sneak or run past the bounty. The guy is not a joke in veteran. Actually, it's harder than a boss. Also, the bleed ring, it's easy to get. You just need to follow this small parkour. Remember, even if you're not a mage, druid shrines are useful to you and can give you experience. You can also keep the gear and sell it later. my suggestion is this. Collect all the values, okay? Then when you are higher level, you put every single point in practicality and sell to the vendor at the highest possible sale value. This is incredibly useful. And if you are like 60 point in practicality, I think it's 500 to 600 extra value. So that is a lot of gold. This way you'll spare yourself some grind. So literally collect anything that you don't use and don't sell it immediately. Also, do the bear shrine for extra physical damage in Act 1. You will need to kill some bears, but it's not too hard. If you don't know where it is, just use Map Genie. It's close to the left exit of the first zone. So if there is something else that I can do in Act 1 to boost my possible success, use Map Genie and start to mine meteorites, okay? I will say this for the last time, don't upgrade anything. Anything needs to go in the gloves. If you don't know this, the resources in-game will reset over time. So what you do is, you go mine, you teleport back, you sleep for a day, you go back, and hopefully the resource will spawn back. If it didn't, just go and sleep again. Also, as I said earlier, in case that you missed this, the shield that we use don't matter. The reason is this. To make parry useful, we will need to invest in it. There are ways to invest in parry. Usually you will make full parry build. There is a dagger for parry, there is a gloves for parry, items that are good for parry. The problem is that the gloves, we cannot use them. Even though they're super easy to get, they're in the bandit camp next to the keep in Act 1. After you finish Act 1, it's time for you to get the Lancelot set from the tomb. If for some reason the ghosts are too strong for you, come back later. This should not be the case. It depends on what level are you going in. Lancelot is good. To use it, you need 15 points in endurance, 8 in dexterity, 15 in strength. Well, you know about the 6 practicality you already have. But these are the overall stats. You don't have to use Lancelot if you don't want. However, Lancelot will give you a lot of raw physical damage. And it's super light to use as well, so you don't have a problem with armor load in full Lancelot, I assure you. In case you are struggling and you want more endurance, do it. Potion of Origin exists for a reason. Don't be afraid. Also in Act 1, it's important that you start the Morrigan questline. You can take it here, because we need the final reward. If you paid attention to the endgame section, there is gonna be the crow set. That's the final reward for the Morrigan questline. You have to do it through all the acts, and it's quite important. You can skip the Alchemist if you don't care. I didn't find the Alchemist questline to be useful, and the Mist Bearer is kinda pain in the ass to kill, because you are so weak early on. For sure you're gonna have a question, but if I level up as two-handed or one-handed or magic, won't my unarmed skill level be too low? So, leveling a combat skill, it's super fast, especially in Act 3. You can play a build, okay, if you want to mess around, go respec, pick something else, and you will see how fast you will get to 99 by killing some high-level mobs. Unarmed level literally doesn't matter, don't worry about it. Mid-game progression. Okay, in Act 2, once you have met all your gear requirement, we need to start to invest in perception and get that critical strike up. If you want, in Act 1 there are some critical rings that you can use. I didn't use them in mine, but they're there. Use Map Genie as usual to find stuff. And yes, we don't want to stack more strength than what we need because perception is better. Perception doesn't just increase our critical chance, it gives us 5 points of critical damage. And the more critical damage, the better it is generally. Of course, without wasting point. It's always a balance act. In Act 2, you're gonna be fine mainly by running Lancelot. I don't suggest crafting sets in Act 2. Some fights, however, cannot be as smooth because some of the bosses are very nasty. So you will need to pay attention to their movesets and upgrade those gloves to match your difficulty. Also, an amazing spot to grind is the Red Death Fortress in Act 2. It's next to the city. You can do it at night for even more experience. So there is nothing in Tainted Grail that you cannot overpower. It only becomes a challenge if you put yourself in the mindset, oh, I need to do something while under-geared or under-leveled. In that case, play mage. If you're really struggling, there is a way to chase certain fights like the bounties. This should not be the case, but I'm putting this as an option for people. You can use the death marks on any enemy that is not a boss. Pretty much death marks are dropped from the bandits, or you can buy at least, I think, 2 from field. He is the fencer guy that buys stolen good in the Act 2 main city. If you use them, sneak, and you can hit some from stealth, it will instantly die. You should not need to do all of this. I'm putting this as an option, in case. Also super important, remember you can take the King Soul perk that activate to prevent your death. It's in the first one that you lock. And then there is another one, third branch, that will copy your damage during the power. So this will cause a lot of pain and you can literally cheese some bosses by doing this, okay? Making them super easy. But remember, you're not a tank, you cannot afford to take some hits in veteran. Also, don't sleep on raising alchemy and cooking. There are a lot of stuff that you can use to heal yourself or even to provide buffs. A way to raise cooking is very simple. You do the quest line to get the cheese spell, then you get a small level summon, and you turn your summon into cheese, and then you cook the cheese. Where do you find that quest? Use Map Genie. However, the quest giver is one of the merchant in the keep in the first area. It's literally on the left. It's the redhead woman. Endgame Progression. If you didn't get filtered by the last boss of Act 2, nothing in Act 3 will scare you. Congratulations. Fort Dwellers are the only exception. In Veteran, I couldn't do what I did on my Summoner or my Mage, just walk in the last instance and shred everything. No, you cannot do this. They beated my ass. Finish the Morrigan questline. Get the cross set. The helm is gonna be an insane boost of damage. It doesn't matter if you don't use the pants or not, that's up to you. You can easily farm experience here in the southern part of the map. Here, the Undead Fortress is extremely nice. Other advice I can give you for the last stretch of the game is do every quest, grind as much meteorite as possible, and be ready to put a lot of gold in those gloves, and then it's gonna be amazing. And for the rest, good luck. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and subscribe. Have fun playing Tainted Grail Fall of Avalon. See you!